4:30, did my workout, walked my dog, and did all the things that I need to do to feel good, to get my mind sharp for the day, but get real, get right. It's being first recognizing where you're at with yourself so that you can make a change towards wherever you want to go.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that.
Hey, Maria.
Hi there.
What's up, Maria? So, of course, I know you have a 411 and a GPS. Talk about how important that is, not only in your personal life, but your professional life as well, because I know that I'm sure there's some people on this call that don't necessarily always follow their 411 or GPS, or hopefully they have it done. But talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to. So I think, the biggest thing for me is, the 135 stays in front of me all the time. It's hanging in my office on the board.
Yep.
And, that keeps me, it keeps me in front of it all the time. And then my 411, it really guides me to stay in my 20%, and, give the rest away. And I don't know about all the people on this call yet. What I know is that if I get my top rocks done during the day, right away in the morning, like I literally feel the best.
Okay.
Like every day, like I go home knowing that I did the best that I could do in those things. And it's a day, and I gotta be very transparent, very honest. Like I slipped away from a lot of things during COVID because it was churning and burning of just, really working to get our whole world turned virtual. And so I let a lot of things slip, and this month is the first month that I've actually really gotten back on track with it. With my coach, she was like, wow, you sent me a coaching prep form. It's a miracle. And yet what I also want to talk about there too is, it's okay to be human, right? Like I don't nail it every month. I don't get it. It's not perfect. And yet, through COVID, I think, one of the biggest things I've learned with the 135 and 411 is number one, grace. Grace with yourself. And because if you don't have grace with yourself, you're probably not having grace with the people around you. And, that's really, I've learned that the hard way, with our leadership teams. And thankfully that, they're very forgiving of, of me and my intensity at times. And yet, number one, grace. And so 135, 411, I just always say, like, with your 411, like, make sure it's not too busy, right? So sometimes people make like long lists of all the things you're going to get done this week. And so like, I would say, like, just rethink about, number one, how do you define a win for yourself? And number two, what are the rules you set for yourself to define that win? And those have been really key for me to be able to break it down into chunks and, win the day and win the week.
You just stirred my pot for sure. That is great stuff, because isn't it amazing how when you accomplish all your big rock stuff, how everything else just kind of falls into place? And then the second thing I want to touch on, and one thing for me that was a game changer, was when I started focusing on my 411, what I was doing, on the weeks, I was doing 1 week at a time instead of filling out all 4 weeks, because things change, and then I started putting my 411 on my calendar. And then once my 411 was on my calendar, it was amazing how much more effective I was. So that's great stuff.
Yeah. Like, so if you if you're setting appointments, right? So like, if you look on my calendar, I have like appointments blocked, even if I don't have them filled in yet.
Yep.
However, I have them blocked so that it's kind of always in my visual. And the crazy thing is, when I put those blocks on my calendar, they magically get filled.
Well, you're holding yourself accountable to making sure they're filled.
Magic. Just
right?
Happens.
Well, that's part of your big rocks, right? So it has to happen.
Yes.
Anybody have questions for Kim so far?
I just want to thank you both so much. I always learn so much from the amazing guests that Chris brings on. And I'm totally with you. You know, I love the being human, because I think we all forget that and we all kind of grind ourselves even more. So taking that like morning time for yourself has been huge for me. So thank you for sharing and reminding us that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Dana. You're amazing. I have a question for you. You know, we've talked about COVID a lot, and I've had guests on here that have talked about COVID and how they're getting through and what they've learned through it. What have you learned about yourself through COVID, and what have you learned about your business through COVID?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I've learned a lot about myself, right? I would go back and I would say like the number one thing is probably grace. The more grace I have with myself, the more calm I am, right? So there's been a lot of disruption in the world, and you know, we look at it and just like it probably hit there, like it was first COVID, and then it was the you know, the racial inequity and the inequality, and
Yeah.
Baltimore DC area, man, it was really brutal, especially inside of our market center, and you know, so it just was thing after thing after thing. And, you know, by first having grace, it allowed me to, as a leader, step back and respond versus react. You know, when COVID hit, I love that dog. When COVID hit, there's a lot of, you know, offices and market centers surrounding us that reacted. You know, they're like, oh my God, we have to change all this stuff. We have to do this. Yeah. And to be honest, I mean, those reactions are hurting them now, because they didn't properly run numbers, think through things. And so I think, you know, the grace allowed me to step back and make a response versus a reaction.
Yeah.
And as far as the business goes, you know, we're having better months than we were last year through a pandemic. You know, like we just profit shared between our two offices $111,000 in June. And we're number one, number two in profit and profit share. And, you know, I look at all of that, and it's a byproduct of immediately shifting to everything the agents would need. So I really kind of said, you know, I know there's a couple TLs on here. I kind of said, well, you know, the heck with recruiting, I have to retain and I have to provide the highest amount of value I can.
Yep. So
that we can get our production up, because the reality is there's less homes sold, and in our market we have a 5-week absorption rate. Like our inventory is so low, probably just like it is there. Everything's super competitive. And so what that means is that it's a skill-based market. And so our agents need to learn the skills at the highest level to win the deals. And so that's what I've learned through business, is when, you know, you can, you know, skate to where the puck is going versus, you know, where it's at right now, and you can give them the value they need, you know, your business will be just fine. So our growth numbers were really, really awful for April and May. And now they're back on track, and it didn't matter because our production numbers were higher. And, you know, because it's that skill-based market. And so it's staying focused on the activities. And, you know, for me, and it may not be the same, you know, around yet. For me, it was most important that our current agents were taken care of and their families were able to sustain financially through COVID, you know, than us grossing 10.
Yep.
And that, you know, that's just me being super transparent there.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, and that's amazing. When Mark King asked me a question, I guess it was 2 months ago, he's like, how are you able to recruit, you know, the way you're recruiting right now? and be able to keep everyone happy in your market center? And I thought it was a great question. And I said, well, first and foremost, just like you, we went into survival mode, and then quickly, not being reactive and being proactive and making sure that our family, which are our agents, to make sure that everyone is taken care of, that they have everything they need, that they're safe. And then once we accomplish that, then we can add more to our family. We can now go out and we can start recruiting and bringing people in. So I don't think that stopped for us, but to your point is we want to make sure that everyone was okay, that they had everything that they need, that they had great training, that everything went virtual. During COVID it was March 8th. I remember it like it was unfortunately like 911. I knew exactly where I was on March 8th. I made a decision to go virtual on everything, on our meetings, on our trainings. And the following week, obviously that's when we got shut down. And I'm glad that we were proactive in the sense that we were able to, switch everything over. And then from there, it was just make sure that everyone is okay, and just like you, same thing. So I truly do appreciate that. Not everyone has had the same mindset, and I think for us and for you guys too, it was just take care of who take care of the people that take care of you, and that was the mindset. So I love that. Questions? We have about 7 minutes left.
Can you talk about, Kim, when you're leveraging people for personal and business too, it's always hard sometimes to let go and find people that are gonna do things better than you, or that, like you said, love doing those tasks. What have been some really great resources or referrals? Do you ask people in your sphere? Do you put ads out? How are you going about finding these people to leverage?
Yeah, no, that's great. And if you look at our entire leadership team, it's all been referrals and or nurtures that have grown up inside the Market Center. Like the team leader that took my space and in my other office, he was an ALC member. All the things at home, that other referrals from people that have had, great experience and great reviews. Now when it comes to letting go, because I'm still working on this myself, and in order to get and build the world that I desire, I'll need to further let go. And, so what that means is, what I've found is I have a systems oriented brain, and part of the track record I've had was, creating it all in my head and then delivering it to the team and saying, here, like, we're going to do this. And what I found is that typically doesn't work very well, because they're not bought into that. And if you have other people around you doing certain things, that may not be the best way it works for them. And so I've kind of changed my whole approach to leverage, especially inside the office and with our leadership team here is, if I'm truly going to be letting go of the process, we're going to create the system together so that they own that. And yet I still have a say in what the system looks like. But the reality is they're going to be the one running with it. And so why not have them be part of the building of it process, not just me telling them like, hey, this is the way it's going to go. And that's kind of the way I've had the most success leverage in business and in life, because, if somebody's in your personal home, I know about you, like I tend to be OCD a little bit. And so I like things done a certain way. So I probably have to model it for them. Right? Not just assume that they're going to know and read your mind of doing it the way that you want it done. So having the space in your life to be able to slow down enough to model the behavior that you expect is key. And I've always not been like that. It's been a painful learning process. Just being transparent, but it's like
absolutely. I'm right there with you.
It's modeling the behavior, but then creating the space and creating systems with the people that are going to be executing them for you.
So that's great, Kim. Thank you for asking that question, Dina. When you do that, do you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but have you used the KPA to know how to bring people together or inspire them to what you want?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I've gone through the entire CV process with everybody on our team, so I understand how to because everybody's different, right? So learning how to communicate with them, the communication styles, communication preferences, their team dynamics, like that's a key portion in the KPA is the team dynamics of how do they like to work together.
Yes.
So with our team, so I've KPA'd and taken everybody through all of the ELT, ALC, and our top people.
That's awesome.
Can you share for any teams or people that I've personally taken the KPA and we're slowly working on our team to have all of our agents do the KPA, why you feel it's so valuable?
I don't know about you.
Your ahas from your own team.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my KPA, it's like if you read it out loud, if you read it, like you really understand who I am as a person, how I tick, how I like to work, what some of my strengths might be, what some of my weaknesses may be, and when you have an understanding of that for each person that's surrounding you, number one, you know how to communicate with them and how often to communicate with them, and like communication is what either makes or breaks a team, in my opinion. And so our track record here is like in the past, we hadn't had enough communication. And so then like I backtracked and I was like, that's when I was like, okay, well, we're going to dive in. I'm going to get an understanding of the KPA, their motivational interview, life story. So I have a better understanding of who they are as a person. And then just when you learn that, you can communicate to the different styles, which some of the most successful real estate sales business owners that have teams, really big teams, they know how to communicate to every single different personality style and make it work. And one thing, Jason often talks about is he says, play in your strengths. If you truly have an understanding of their KPA, you're not going to try and make them do something that is not their strength. Because I tell you right now, like if I was, they say like, hey, recruiting is a team sport, and I get that. However, I would never expect or ask my MCAs or my agent services to make any kind of cold calls or do anything like that, because that's not their strength. And they can take care of a lot of other things for me that allows them to stay in their strengths, and then I can keep doing what my strengths are, right? So we have a pretty, it's like the operations side of the business, they run the business, I grow the business. And it's pretty distinctive. And yet we all collaborate as one. So it's myself and our productivity coach, we grow the business. And the rest of everybody, they run the business.
Yeah.
And having those distinctions and knowing what their strengths are, because I feel forward so much, in the journey of being a team leader, of attempting to say, well, everybody's got to do this. Like it's a team sport. But no, like playing your strengths and keep like everybody will stay happy, and yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys ever read or listened to the book Radical Candor, but it's a great book, right? And it talks about how there's a visionary and there's the integrators, right? And how the visionary can't integrate and the integrators can't have the vision, right? So to Kim's point, it's like having someone who's really good at something, but is not good at actually putting it into practice, and there's other people. And it's exactly what Kim is talking about. And I really, real quick, I want to add on to why the KPA is so important is when you get into the life story and you get into the 4 quadrants and you deep dive with your agent on what's important to them, job and money, and then whatever 2 other things that are important to them, and you go through it and you tell them that you're going to help them get to where they want to get to, and then you actually have action on it, they're never going to leave you. I mean, you're creating a world that is big enough for them to be inside of. And I think that's worth mentioning because I think that's really important as well. That's another reason why it's important to do the KPA, to answer your question, Dana.
Just emphasize what you just said, when you create action on it,
Yep.
that is where the magic is.
Yep, no question. I know we're up against the half hour here, but Kim, do you have a final thought for everyone? Because you're amazing.
No, I think, I think the biggest thing, right, is I always think of that graphic, that Gary has. It's, I do it, we do it, they do it. I do it, you have a job. We do it, you have a business. They do it, you have an empire. And, so it's thinking about, what in my personal and business life is the one thing that I can leverage such that by doing so, it would give me more free time to do things that I would rather be doing. Right.
Yep.
So pick one thing today. Right. And, it's like, I wouldn't take away the leverage that I have now because it's great, and it allows me to go out and play. Like I really work hard and I play harder, like with my dog. It's pretty much it. So
I love it. And I'm gonna leave you with this. Chris Summers put a comment up here. I think it's great. If I can build a team in Fargo, it can do it anywhere. It should be a #1 tweet. I love that.
If teams get and there's one team there, I mean, they sell 700 units a year and it's in Fargo, right? So,
yep.
It can be done anywhere.
Totally. Well, Kim, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And
my pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks for everyone being on the call.
Have a great day, everybody.
You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
I can.